A long, long time ago, in a galaxy very nearby, video games used to have this really cool thing where if you approached a boss in a village nearby, you might find information about that boss. And it's like, I heard that the Minotaur is a dangerous creature and eats kids or whatever. Well, I heard he had a tragic backstory, but then grew monstrous. It's so sad. And I just want to give that a name. Let's give that a name. No sprinkling. Okay, so, you know how Diablo, the remake, if you can call it a Diablo game, is considered as shit by old players of Diablo. Yeah, that thing, that one little thing where you just find a little bit of information where someone is praising or defining a value, giving value to what the Minotaur is. Essentially, your villain gets an identity, right? You don't really need to meet the villain and talk to him. You just need to hear about who he is and then fight him. And I can't remember his name, but pointy, Minotaur-looking dude, Minotaur butcher guy. Yeah, that guy in the original game dies after a few seconds, but the new guy is just laughable, and he dies after a few minutes. And it's just note sprinkling is what I'm calling it. Essentially, you set up something like 60 notes, right? Where they're outlining notes. This villain has a tragic backstory and did something. This villain used to have a girlfriend. And they don't necessarily need to be canonical. They just have to be rumors. Outlines of what a rumor should sound like, right? And you just sprinkle those notes around any given enemy, randomly sprinkling 7 or 13 or whatever, and your writers then edit those notes to fit the lore of the character. Then you just give that to the voice actors, and the voice actors replicate these notes. And you have a real world. You have something that feels more like a real world. Because if you have those note sprinklings, you're not only going to be psychologically invested in the battle. By going around city to city, you might listen to these stories and decide which character would be more fun to fight against and which character would be someone you want to leave alone. Like, one character could be eating children, while another character who has a tragic backstory could be just stealing food from the village and scaring people. You know, there's any number of ideas in your mind that can form from randomized sprinklings of rumors. We take rumors in and do stuff with them. We take in rumors and we form a mental picture of someone based on those rumors, right? I mean, 60, 65 notes that outline certain things. Maybe you can browse some folkloric stuff and give vague outlines of what the stereotype villain is for a village or whatever. And it's not just medieval or fantasy games, it's any type of game, period. You can have a set of notes for a gangster. You can have a set of notes for a mayor. You can have a set of notes for this, that, whatever, right? And by having random characters hang around here and there containing this information, you're just urging the player to explore. And it's not just, oh, I need an ammo pack. Where should I look? Oh, look, under the staircase, there's an ammo pack. No. Realistically, if you play something like an Infamous game or whatever, you face, what, 5,000 enemies? Like, in the range of 2,000 to 5,000 enemies you can fight in such a game, right? Now, a city in something like Infamous is several miles, and you don't have that many NPCs. You have a few hundred NPC models, right? Well, why not just layer the game with, like, if you had like 6 or 7 voice actors to fit in the crowd, you're not just giving the villain something to do, you're also giving the NPCs something, some sort of information to contain. If you have a green NPC walking around in one area and he doesn't have this information, but you see a similar green NPC in a different area and this NPC has that information, you're even further encouraged to look into this. You give that one green NPC who looks just like his twin in this other area personality, right? And maybe you can give the NPCs with the notes tiny style change, like maybe the guy wearing a green suit has a little bit of red on his hat or whatever. And the point is, it's not just NPCs, people in villages, it's people in villages, and bad guys can have such information too. Bad guys hanging around. You can walk up to a bad guy and ask him what he knows about something, and this bad guy bot, which up to that point was a meaningless bot, he gains an identity. So you give your entire world identity simply by having this one simple system. You just outline something like 60, 65 notes about what a villain does, what a villain is, and basically you create rumors, and it gives you a completely different layer of reality that's been lacking in most AAA titles, and it boggles the mind why no one has given this thing a name yet. I mean, all you need is a microphone and some notes. You don't even necessarily need voice actors. You can just see who in the office can mimic an accent, which I don't recommend because voice actors are hardworking people and they deserve money. Because really, the idea of being a voice actor and trying to make it in any industry these days is just sad, and voice actors are hardworking people and you should hire them, and I'm sorry I suggested that, but still, you don't actually need all that much to make this system work. What is it, like 2 days work? A week at most to make a game like Infamous, like the next Infamous, come to life? I mean, it's area after area after area after area with something like 50 side missions. Why not make those side missions feel good? So, and it's easier to do than complex shantification where a character comes in and he wants to do something, and if you miss him this one time, you catch up to him and this other time, and blah 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 blah. The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is an excellent game, but the point is, a few hundred audio files and, you know, NPCs, see slight adjustments of the hat and whatever, just give you an entirely new world. Plus, by having those NPCs contain rumors, you can then just, in further titles, make little bits and pieces, references to those early NPCs. Like this guy with the green, with the hat that has a little red in it, his name is something McSomething, and something McSomething in the next installment might show up in your new game, and he'd be like, oh, also I used to hang out in this one city, but I've seen chaos or whatever, and blah, 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 blah. You know, compare and contrast. You see, you can do a lot by simply typing in like 60, 65 notes, having 6 or 7 people voice act those notes, and just making a few cosmetic changes. And I just want to give this thing a name. Let's call it note sprinkling. That's all.